Good morning. All right. Who has some good news they would like to share? You knew the question was coming.
Yeah.
All right. Whoever just smiled, say something.
No, I knew the question was coming. I just wish I had an answer. But
You don't have anything good that happened? You woke up today, you were able to
oh
get yourself
yeah.
out of
No,
bed.
I had an open house yesterday, and a few more potential buyers to contact tomorrow. So that's going good. Nothing
Beautiful.
tangible, but keep working on it.
All right. That's tangible.
Bill, I
There's no
hope that my
paperwork
first.
yet, but that's tangible.
Yeah. People to call, people to follow up with.
All right. Markia, were you saying something?
Yes, I hosted my first open house on Saturday.
Okay.
I had two people to show, but it rained, so. But it still was a good experience. When I was putting everything up, taking stuff about my car, I was seeing people running, walking, inviting them to the open house. And I ran into this one female, and I gave her my card, and she was like, "Marquis, I know you from somewhere." And I actually ended up going to Barney Fletcher with her, but she didn't end up pursuing real estate, but she had 2 units out there. So she said she go to every open house, so she know everybody in the neighborhood that's looking to sell and everything. So that was a really good contact, and she actually came to the open house. So that was good.
Love it. Love it. Well,
And I wrote a contract yesterday.
You would think somebody like that with all those connections would be more would go be a real estate agent, but now you can
She said she just wanted to be more so on the investment side, being that she ended up getting a second unit out there, and she kind of liked the landlord thing.
so that community does not have a rental restriction, right?
They do, but she said that they didn't really. I think it was like 25%
Right.
renters. Yeah.
And they're not at that?
I don't know. She said that she's been there 15 years, so honestly, when she got her second place, they didn't even evaluate her since she's been there for so long.
Interesting. All right, well, while we're talking about that, I'll just remind several of you, I'm sure probably don't know this, the vast majority of condominiums have a restriction in their bylaws that say that only a certain percentage of owners can rent at any one time. I've seen that as low as 5% and as high as 25%. And typically it is between 20 and 25%. So if you are working, for example, with an investor that says, oh, just get me a rental, I want a condo that I can rent out, please be aware that it's not that easy, okay? You very much need to research whether they can buy and put a tenant in there right away. And you do not want to even give them the smallest bit inkling that they could buy and I'll live there for a year, then I'll rent it out. Say, whoa, that's fine, but there are no guarantees on what will happen with the bylaws between now and then. There's no guarantees on who will want to rent and who won't want to rent. And you may have to wait it out. I remember, Kathy, you probably remember stuff like this 10 years ago or so. If you wanted to rent your condo in Midtown, you literally put yourself on like a 15-year wait list.
Yep.
Right. And the reason why is because let's say you bought a 2-bed, 2-bath for $350, okay, and then the market fell out and the places were $250 or less, and you didn't want to short sell it, you couldn't sell it conventionally because no one would give you $350 for it, and you didn't want to walk away from it. Well, the first round of people that affected stuck a renter in there, and the second round of people that affected got told there was a rental cap that was already at capacity with a huge wait list. Does everyone follow that? Okay. So please understand, it's not just that simple to stick a renter in there whenever you feel like it. When you buy into a condominium, your ownership is restricted with that type of stuff more often than not. Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Markia. Any other positive news? And then we'll move right on.
Yeah, I actually wrote a contract yesterday as well too. So hopefully we should accept it.
Good for you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yay.
Okay. Who else? Welcome back, Liz.
Hey.
Hi, Liz.
Everyone
How are you
be
guys?
thinking about Liz's mother. She's been not so well lately.
She's stabilizing. I think we're in a good place. She's
Good.
97, y'all. So it's,
Wow.
living at home
Wow.
Living at home.
and
Wow.
bullheaded as ever. So that's where I get it. But she's stabilizing. So I'm excited to be here this morning. I actually got a compliment yesterday from a friend of mine that says, I don't even want to buy a house, but I always stop and look at your ads and watch your videos and stuff on Facebook. And
I
so
love that.
you're really down to earth. And I'm like, oh, that felt good. So
You can use the language skills and language patterns that we're learning. You can use for your family too,
that's right.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
You do want to go to sleep, don't you? Even my daughter knows better for that one. She's learned that one right away. All right, one more. How about one more?
I'll give one. We spent last week with our children and 3 grandchildren at the beach and had a blast. And it was nice not having to work. Jenny Vereen took care of all my business for me, and it was wonderful. I didn't even try to lead generate or anything.
I'm gonna probably put up zeros, and I love
Yep.
it. Hey, guess what? It's life worth living, y'all. Right?
Well, Bill,
God, family, and business. That's
great balance.
the deal. That's the deal.
I
And
did have.
I didn't put this on this fourth quarter GPS. One of the things that we put here was the person on success outside of business. Remember, it says the person who handles my business when I am away is. Right? We're not in this alone, y'all. Okay, if you want every single job, you'll get to keep every single job. If you want to put away real estate and not stress about it for a little while, then find yourself an office buddy and be the buddy for them too. Okay. All right. Yesterday I sent out an email with a number of attachments and stuff that we've been speaking about. Script books, all kinds of stuff. So please take a look at that. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, don't forget to do that. We are updated with the exception of, I think, one session on Friday. I should be doing that today. Today, I am hoping I get a good turnout. I've got 5 people that have confirmed coming. I'm doing a session primarily geared towards people outside of Keller Williams, but if you're interested in coming, you're more than welcome to come. It's called Build Your 2001 Business Plan. It is essentially just a review of the economic model and the lead generation model. So if you'd like to come to that, you're more than welcome. That is today from 1:30 to 3 in this room. 1:30 to 3 in this room. Okay. Let's see. Don't forget, Chart Masters is tomorrow from 1 to 2. There's a link for that in the newsletter. 1 to 2 tomorrow. Andy and Leslie will be going through some of their favorite slides and giving you a good overview of what's going on statistically in the marketplace and how to have that kind of holiday chatter, right? You're going to be the life of the party at all these kind of get-togethers over the holidays. And you want to make sure that you don't just say, oh, real estate's fun or real estate's good, the market's hot. You want to spit out a statistic with numbers, very specific numbers. Hey, did you know that we've had 1,243 homes that have gone on the market in the last 7 days? Does that surprise you? Right? You need to know something right off the bat that you can share. Okay. And please don't say, I'm so slammed. Because then they'll be like, oh, well, I had a lead for you, but I guess I'll give it to somebody else that's not so busy.
You don't need my business.
Sounds like you got all the business you need. Okay. Just listen to the words you're using, please. Please. Okay. We're doing a class called Get a Client Today. That's on Wednesday from 1 to 2. And Mega Agent Day, don't forget, is Thursday from 1:30 to 4:30. That is free, and I sent the registration link out in yesterday's email. Does anyone have any questions about yesterday's email? Okay, I want to go over, Greta, was that you?
Yeah, I do. You said the thing today, what was that? The 1:30 to 3, the
So
business?
I didn't put that on the calendar just because it's It's primarily a recruiting event, but if you'd
Okay.
like to come, you're more than please, you're more than welcome to come. It's build your 2021 business plan.
Will it benefit me?
If you don't have super clarity on your 2021 business plan, yes.
Okay.
Some of the stuff that we have gone through, like how many appointments do I need and how many contacts do I need to make each day, and what are the primary lead generation strategies? If you've got that all figured out, you could probably skip it. It will be recorded and you can watch it later if you have if you've got a commitment during that time though. Okay. I wanted to introduce, there's one other thing called a brain rattler exercise. I included that in the message yesterday, the email yesterday. That is from Bold. And what it is it's got like 4 sheets of like, my hairdresser is, the person who, I make deposits with the bank is, the person who maintains my landscaping is. And it basically encourages you to think about who all these people are, and are these people in my database? There's also a list, I think it's in the one from yesterday, that basically lists all the states. And it's like, Vermont, do I know anyone in Vermont? Connecticut, do I know anyone in Connecticut? Louisiana, do I know anyone in Louisiana, right? And it's really encouraging you to really work your brain to say, am I leaving anyone out of my database? Okay. Holidays are coming up. Now's a perfect time to reach out to them and express your gratitude and check in on their family and see how they're doing at work, seeing if they have any goals for next year. Okay.
Bill, where is that? I'm not seeing it on the email.
So that, I switched out the buyer intake sheet this last email because this one was, in my opinion, a little bit better, but the old one had what I'm talking about. So I will post, John, if you remember, if you know what I'm talking about.
No, well, you mentioned in the email, you said, and a brain rattler exercise to make certain you don't forget anyone.
So I'm referring to, hang on one second.
Let's see here.
So in the email from the 19th, I posted an attachment that has, hang on one sec. Oh, okay. It is something called business to business scripts in the email from the 19th. I will attach that to the announcements page right now though. And there's a list of all the states. That's the only thing I think that was left out of the page that I posted yesterday, or included in the email yesterday. Make sense?
Now, when you say announcements page, what announcement?
The announcements WhatsApp group.
Okay, I got you. All right.
All right. I just posted that.
All right.
Okay, let's, I want to go through one other thing really quickly, which is this idea. I actually heard this on the way in, and so many times I forget about this, is, can anyone tell me what, like, any sports fans here? Okay, let's talk about baseball for a second. What is kind of the threshold batting average that you would say separates like an exceptional player from just an everyday player?
300.
That's what I was looking for, 300. Okay, so what does that mean, John? That means that when an exceptional batter goes to bat, they're only successful getting on base a third of the time, or 30%.
Less than a third. Every 10 times, only 3 hits, and every 10 times at bat. And
it's very possible that they could have a couple strikeouts. They could have, swing and whiff at a ball or mini balls, right?
That's right.
And yet, if they get 3 out of every 10 hits, they could go to the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And they could be making $30-40 million a year. Is that right?
That's right. Sure.
So my question to you guys is, are you willing to bat 300, right? Would you be okay with going out there and getting 3 out of 10? Because if your pool is only 3, you're only going to get 1, right? But if your pool's 10, you can get 30, right? or I'm sorry, if your pool is 100, you can get 30, right? So my question is like, I hate to say it this way, but the truth of the matter is it's a numbers game. If you want more listings, if you want more people in your database, you just simply have to talk to more people, right? And understand that not every person that you enter into a courtship with is going to want to work with you exclusively at that moment. And so if you get rejected, or they ghost you, or they don't respond to your email or text, you just move on and focus on the next person. And you can drop them a message every once in a while, right? They should still be in the tickler file, but you shouldn't like put all of your emotions into this relationship, because you're not going to get 100% of them. Does that make sense? So we got to get comfortable with not winning every once in a while, so that we can do the efforts we got to do to win. Y'all follow that? All right, who knows
Yep.
what's that?
Nothing. I just say, yep.
All right, guess what tomorrow is, y'all? Any guesses on what tomorrow is?
Role play?
Well, good. That's good. Anything? Guess what is 66 days
Oh,
from the end of the year
wow.
is tomorrow. Do y'all know that?
Nope.
So I'm going to be posting a copy of the 66-day challenge. This is from the One Thing. Okay. And the idea is, if you do something, if you have a habit and you don't have a habit, this is how to build a habit. If, let's say, you want to build a habit of drinking a certain amount of water each day. They say, the research suggests that if you do that for 66 days in a row, that behavior will be habitual. Okay. It happens in as little as about 3 weeks, and in some examples, almost 300 days. But the average, the research found, this is Gary and Jay and the rest of their research team, 66 days. So if you start tomorrow and you go 66 days in a row with a habit or a task that you want to create a habit around, by New Year's Eve, that will be cemented into your psyche forever. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take between today and tomorrow and think really hard about what that habit is. Now, there's two things that you're probably thinking of right now. One is, I want to do this and this and this and that and that. That's me too. Just pick one. Just pick one. Okay. So maybe you want to wake up at a certain time. Maybe you want to do a certain number of push-ups. Maybe you want to have dinner with your family. Maybe you want to call a friend once a day. Maybe you want to go to the gym every day. Okay, this is 66 calendar days, so make sure you can do it if you're off on the weekend or you're out of town for the holidays or something like that. Okay, 66 days starts tomorrow. So my ask for today is think about what that's going to be for you. Okay, it doesn't have to be super complex. Don't tell me lead generate. That's not good enough. You could say, I'm going to have 5 contacts a day. That's more specific and attainable, but it can't be as vague as lead generate. Okay, make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. You perform at the same level as your practice. Did anyone hear that from Bold? Anyone hear that from Bold? Bold's been awesome. I spent pretty much all day yesterday catching up. Was that woman from Nashville? She's pretty impressive, isn't she?
Emily
Peckman, yeah.
Very much so.
First year in the business, 36 sales. Second year in the business, over 100.
105.
sales.
Yeah.
105.
Crazy.
But already, right? Now she's just, I mean, clearly she's not just an everyday person, but she just walked in and said, hey, this is what the successful people are doing. I guess that's what I'll do. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's take a minute now to go through the seller intake sheet or the seller checklist. Is everyone cool with that? That's perhaps why you tuned in today, and I want to make sure that I honor that. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, first thing that we want to do is be ready with the pre-qualification script next to your face and next to your hand all day long, because you never know when one of your conversations is going to turn into an opportunity to pre-qualify a seller. Just like the buyers, right? So number one, you should read this about 3 million times until it's internalized, but you should also have these questions right in front of you so that whenever a conversation goes into, okay, you just booked an appointment and it's time to pre-qualify that appointment, you want to know exactly what questions to ask, okay? So that's what I would call the seller intake sheet. I also have this a document called the seller intake sheet on the Google Drive, okay? So I've had a conversation with somebody, I've booked an appointment, I've then gone on to ask them the pre-qualification questions. We get off the telephone, and guys, this is just mine, okay? I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I'm just saying these are, and this, by the way, of course, is in the Google Drive too. This is just a rough list of the things that you should probably be thinking about, okay? So when we got off the phone, I'd send them a little video saying, so, this is who I am, this is what my business is all about, I'm so excited to meet you, yada, yada, personalized, right? So that they can tell. So it's, hey, Greta, we just got off the phone a second ago, and I'm super excited to meet you Tuesday at 2. Not, hi there, I'm looking forward to our meeting, right? Clearly that can be duplicated for all the clients, something individualized, okay? Update the client database, right? So now I've got some more information about this person. They may or may not have been in the database before, but regardless, I certainly have some new data, so I'm gonna update that data in Command, okay? When I wrote this, Command didn't exist. Okay, then I'm gonna go on the listing appointment. At the listing appointment, I'm gonna find out some more stuff, and I'm going to update my database again. Then I'm going to search or research for the information to share with the seller. So that may be, a promise that I make at the listing appointment that says, hey, I'll send you a copy of all the, the data reports or the listing reports for all the properties that are in, this elementary school district. And, I know we said the range would probably be from about 200 to 225. I want you to see this list just like a buyer would see this list, and I'll do the research too, and we can kind of put our heads together on what the pricing strategy will be. Okay, create GD file for a client. Everything I ever did, I had a data issue at one point, and we lost a little bit of stuff, and so I became pretty obsessive compulsive probably around duplication of the data. So I had an external hard drive that I added stuff to once every couple of weeks. I bought my assistant external hard drive. She was updating it every single week, and we had everything in .loop, and we duplicated everything into Google Drive. So that way I could quickly go into Google Drive and find out anything I need to know about a contract or the exact paperwork, okay? Again, you don't have to do that, I just did that. Create opportunity. So you go into Command and you move that person to the opportunity section. If you're unfamiliar with what that means, go into YouTube and check KW opportunity, and you will see a 10-minute video on exactly how that works and exactly how to move somebody from one place to the other. Okay, remember that Sam has office hours 4 days out of the week, and on Friday he spends half an hour with just our productivity coaching group from 10:30 to 11. So there should be, and of course we're all here to answer your questions about opportunities too. Okay, I upload the seller checklist. Remember, the seller checklist has these actions, and the question is yes or no. Did I do it? Yes or no? What date did I do it? And any notes applicable. So this became a document that my assistant and I shared, and everything that is in regular font was a task that I did, and everything that was in bold font is a task the assistant did. Okay, so every day she's sending me a message that says, Goldberg file, these are the next 4 things that need to happen. Smith file, these are the next 4 things that need to happen. Travis file, these are the next 4 things that have to happen. And then throughout the day, she's letting me know when she did things, and I'm letting her know when I did things. And so anytime either one of us looked at this checklist, we knew exactly what the next things were going to be. Okay.
When you say upload, Bill, where are you talking to?
Good question. So upload seller checklist, we did that in Google Drive. So this was just I wanted to be able to access this document for each file at any time on my cell phone. Good question. Upload and edit the seller information sheet. So this was actually one of 2 pages in this file. The second tab was what I called a seller information sheet, which was just simply, you know, wife's name, husband's name, wife's email, husband's email, everyone's cell phone numbers, the names of the kids, you know, anything that was pertinent that I wanted to know at a quick glance. And eventually it had like, what's the FMLS number? What's the Georgia MLS number? What date was it listed? What's the sales price? Has the price ever been adjusted? And what happened? What date did that happen on? It was like, what is the lockbox number of the home of the lockbox that's on the home? What was the CBS code? Any of that kind of stuff. The dog's name, anything I needed to know about that file was quickly right there available for both of us to see. Okay, so we updated that seller information sheet because now I had some more information likely. Okay, I emailed Kern for the legal description. Same thing that we went over for the buyers. If you have the address, the seller's name or the owner's name and the county, that's the quickest way that's the information that's ideal for them to know, Kern to know, in order to generate that report very quickly. Okay, I would get the listing agreement sent and signed. Add entry to CTE. This was just another piece of software that we used to use. You don't have to worry about that. Upload the coal list to Google Drive. So basically, if let's say I listed 123 Hill Street, and Luz, my assistant, would go into Cole. We used to have a subscription to Cole outside of PC, of course, where I could go and get the 1,500 people that live closest to the address. So when I listed that home, I went and called the neighbors and said, "Hey, this is Bill. I just listed your neighbor's house at 123 Hill Street." You know, what we find is that some people, have friends that want to move into the area. Wanted to know, who do you know that wants to move into the area? And we also know sometimes that once one home is listed, that encourages somebody who was thinking about listing to also list. You know, who do you know that wants to buy or sell or invest in real estate that I could help today, right? And I'd use that as a lead generation tool, not only to share with my seller that I was doing it, but also to find more opportunities for my business, right?
So what's the coal list? I don't know this term.
Okay, so as part of productivity coaching, there's a resource called Cole Realty Resource. Okay, this is a service that's about $1,200 a year. That is free for you guys as being a part of productivity coaching. So they have a little funky password issue, which basically, if I gave you the username and password and all of 50 of you had it, and you all logged into them at your own computer, they'd cut it off. So the way that we've done it is, if you send me the address, the center point, anytime you want, you send me 123 Hill Street, and I'll send you a list of the 1,500 people that live closest to that address. You can call them and invite them to an open house. You can call them and say, "Hey, I just listed a property. I just pended a property. I just sold a property." You could call around and say, "Hey, I've got a buyer. Can't find any listings. Who do you know?" That kind of thing. All you got to do is send me the property address, and I'll send you the list back. My assistant is off today and tomorrow on vacation for her birthday. So otherwise, we'll have it to you first thing Wednesday morning. Typically, you'll get it within an hour or two. Okay.
And also, Bill.
Yeah.
In Remind in FMLS also has where you could look up lists by subdivision, zip code, or what have you, and it'll have owner information, address, and phone numbers as well.
I didn't know Remind did that.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to compare the list side by side to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not sure which one is more accurate or up to date. I just needed the addresses, so I ran a list through Remind, but they also had phone numbers as well.
Right, you could use the addresses for like a mailer if you were trying to target a certain neighborhood or something.
Exactly.
Okay, so review disclosures with sellers. What I mean by that is, yes, I know Melba. They're supposed to fill it out, just them. I believe personally that it is my responsibility as their agent to make sure it's complete, accurate, and it reads the way I want it to read. Okay, So for example, if they leave off checking that the landscape lights are going to be included, and I know they're going to be included, then I'm going to have them fix the disclosure. If they leave out that the switch plate covers are included and I know they're included, then I'm going to ask them about it. Okay. If they don't specifically give, if in my opinion, they don't give enough information about something, hey, basement flooded, it's fixed now. That's not very thorough and it doesn't read very well. Basement flooded, insurance took care of everything. All repairs were done by licensed contractors and there's been no problems since. All paperwork is available. That sounds a lot more thorough and it's not hiding anything. It's actually being more thorough. Make sense? So if it doesn't read the way I want it to read, I'm going to encourage them to make it better. Okay, let's quickly go through the rest of this. Add all signed documents to Google Drive. Then I'm going to schedule the photographer. I'm going to have the pictures edited. Notice I said schedule the photographer as in don't take the pictures yourself. Okay. Edit pictures. There's a lot of companies out there, guys, that have really, really affordable packages for professional photography, as little as like $150. That was what that's what put my wife into early retirement on real estate photography. She's like, I can't do it for $150. It's not worth it. I said, but I'm gonna have to spend $150 with somebody else. She says, that's a damn good deal. You should call them. Anyway, input the information into FMLS with pictures and docs, input the information into the listing into Georgia MLS with pictures and docs, email the FMLS data page to the seller. So that's basically, hey, your home's listed. Congratulations. I'm so excited to work with you. Here's the way it looks on FMLS with all the comments and yada, yada. What do you think? Do you want me to make any edits, right? Update superekey.com. That's connecting the lockbox number to the listing. That way, if you have multiple listings at once, which we all will strive to do, of course, you'll be able to see which agent went into which home. That way you don't have to like, oh, 45782 is that home and 45783 is that home. Okay, let me go look it up. That's inefficient. Make it easier. Okay.
Hey, Bill, I got a quick question. Sorry, I keep asking questions, but line 23, I must have blanked out for a second. Did we talk about complete?
Oh, thank you. No, we didn't. I didn't put that. I didn't vocalize that. Sorry about that. Complete dual entry form and send to Luth. So basically, there's a document. I have to look around for it. I thought it was on FMLS, but I did a quick scan yesterday and I didn't see it. It's basically a document that you would complete if you're going to list a home. It's really just an internal document, but it asks you all the questions that FMLS and Georgia MLS are going to ask you when you're getting ready to put the home on the market. So there's like a couple of questions, like as you're going through the home and you're like, okay, crown molding, and got a half bath on the main and 4 upstairs and 3 baths upstairs, and it's got a finished basement, and you leave and you think everything's good, and then you go and put it on the listing and they're like, oh damn, were there sidewalks? Were there lights outside? I forget. Where was the attic again? Right. And there's like a handful of questions that you're like, oh, I forgot to look for that. Right. And you don't want to call the seller back and be like, is it gas water or is it electric water? Right. So this is basically a sheet that you would tour the house with. So as if you're taking the listing. So once you're out of there, you've got a listing, you've got all the data there that you could essentially just hand to a admin and say, you put it in the system. And all the questions are already answered. Thank you for asking that.
One more question. Who's Luth?
Oh, Luth is my assistant.
Okay. All right.
It is an FMLS, Bill. It's under it's in the forms section in FMLS.
Could you would you mind downloading it and adding it to the page today for me? Would you do that? John, would you download that and add it to the group later on?
Sure.
All right, thank you. Update KWLS. KWLS is they're redoing it, but it's an internal Keller Williams system. So once you tweak the listing on that, it disseminates to all the other thousands and thousands of websites. create flyer, create virtual tour, upload the listing to social media, blog, YouTube, do a blog post about it, do a social media alert about it. We used to knock 50 doors around the house. Hey, I'm Bill. That's my name on the sign over there. Who do you know? Can I help you? Got any questions? Want to see it? Any of that? Cold calls for the listings. So that's what I said earlier. Earlier, she just uploaded the list to get it ready for me. And then now I'm making the phone calls. Feedback system for showings. So now the showings are coming in. And we used to have a system where I'd call all the sellers on Friday and tell them what's going on. Yet through the week, we were accumulating all the feedbacks from all the showings and all the listings. And she was putting that into a, kind of a little tidy system so that I had all the data necessary to make those phone calls. Okay. Weekly calls to seller for showings, receive, offer, and review a seller. By this time, I've already helped the seller anticipate kind of some of the main points in the contract and kind of what to expect. We have a binding agreement. We update the seller info sheet because now we know when the binding agreement is, we know when all the contingencies end, we know when the closing is going to be, I know who the closing attorney is, I know who the lender is, I know who the buyer's agent is, right? So now I've got some more information that I want to put into that sheet. Confirm updated file in DocuSign, right? After all the back and forths and, this version, and then we change this, it's like, is it clean and easy and simple in DocuSign? Is it pretty? Right? Confirm updated file in GD, which is Google Drive. Okay. Share the paperwork. The people that are entitled to the paperwork are the other agent, the attorney, and the client. More than likely, I'm not sharing the paperwork with the lender because that's what the buyer's agent would do. Okay. Email all deadlines to buyer's agent. So I'd say, hey, Luth, my assistant would say, hey, I'm Bill's assistant. Congratulations on the sale. Here's a copy of all the paperwork just so you have it. And according to my calculations, the earnest money is due this day, the due diligence period ends this day, the financing contingency ends this day, all that kind of thing. And it'd say, please let me know if you have any questions, right? Email calendar of dates to the seller. So we'd have another little sheet that we created that says, hey, congratulations. This is the milestones that you'll need to be aware of and when all the contingencies end, et cetera. Video congratulating them on the sale. Update loose calendar with deadlines. So now we have a few deadlines that we need to keep our eye on, right? The appraisal contingency, the financing contingency, the due diligence period, when's the earnest money due, when's the closing, all that went on loose calendar. And that way every day she was forecasting out all the things that were on her calendar for the next week and telling me, hey, don't forget Harris Street's appraisals due Thursday, Travis Street's appraisals due Saturday. That way she didn't tell me that morning when there wasn't hardly anything I could do about it. She told me earlier in the week so I could be checking in with the agent and making sure that everything was happening smoothly, okay? Then I call the sellers to summarize the next steps. Again, create the opportunity or update the opportunity. By now, the home has gone under contract. Cold calls all around, the same ones that I did earlier, when I listed the place, let them know, hey, you remember me? I called you 3 days ago, list the home, already under contract, got 7 other offers. Who do you know? Who do you know? Right? Negotiate the repairs, update the Google Drive and DocuSign.
What is commission agreement on 52?
Man, you're good at this, Greta. My eyes are going everywhere, I guess. Okay, there's a document called Instructions to Closing Attorney. It's also known as the commission agreement. And it is only signed between the two agents. The buyer and seller are not privy to this, okay? And the listing agent is typically the agent that fills it out because they're the ones that know what they're getting paid. The buyer's agent doesn't necessarily know what the listing agent is getting paid. They only know what they're getting paid, okay? So you fill that out and you send it over to the other side to be signed, okay? Seller information sheet from the attorney. So the attorney is generally going to, once they get the file all organized and they got all the paperwork and they open the file, they're going to send out a document called the information sheet. Every attorney is different, but the attorneys that I typically worked with had this step. They'd send out a information sheet to the seller, and the stuff they wanted to know from the seller were like, legal names and contact numbers and who's your current mortgage with, and do I have your permission to call the lender to get payoff amounts and these kind of things, right? So seller would fill that out, send it back to the attorney, and oftentimes I was facilitating that. Schedule the closing. Typically, the first party to contact the attorney and schedule the closing gets their time, right? So I generally was the one that did it first, and I would say, I know this is going to sound horrible, but you guys are going to end up doing the same thing later on. The closings were scheduled at a time that made sense for me, right? Not for the other party. I mean, it'll work for them, but I got this file and I'm in charge. I looked at it as I'm in charge of this whole thing. So this closing will work the smoothest for me and my business and my family and my life by design if it's at 2 o'clock. Make sense? So I called and I said, hey, you got a 2 o'clock available? Whatever, right? Hey, by the way, schedule the closing for 2. Any problems? Nope. Okay, great. Thank you. Now the closing's at a perfect time for me and my world. Make sense? All right. Lender introduction and checkup. There's a chance that my buyer is not, I'm sorry, that the buyer is not working with a lender that I'm familiar with, right? Now, I definitely, I should have probably added this up here, which is before that deal goes binding, I want to have a conversation with the buyer's lender, right? Before it goes binding, I want to have a conversation with the buyer's lender. Now, basically introducing myself and trying to figure out if this person is legit or not. Okay. After all this stuff, I want to check in and say, hey, I'm Bill. Here's all my contact information. We're on the same, team here. We're trying to get to the closing. Anything you need, you let me know. Who's my main reference point? Same thing for the attorney. Then I'm studying the financing contingency, making sure that everyone's on pace for that. The appraisal contingency, make sure everything's on pace for that. Check in with the STIPs and notes. What I mean by that is there could be things, for example, like seller to furnish copy of all the bylaws and rules and regulations within 3 days or something like that. So my assistant had to put that on the calendar so that we didn't miss that deadline. Or it may be, send all the repair receipts by this day, right? Or something of that nature, right? So or order a home warranty. So we're making sure that all the little things that we had agreed to were tended to. Complete all the repairs, get the clear to close, buy a closing gift, attend the closing, photo at closing, command commissions and final paperwork, update the Google contact file, because now they have a different address, right? They don't own that house anymore, right? And so I might want to change some of the tags. I might want to adjust the address, that kind of thing. Maybe the couple's getting divorced. Now I need 2 contact pages, right? It could be anything. Update the opportunity, post the pic to social media, send a video saying congratulations, make all the cold calls telling them I sold it, write a handwritten note to the seller, send out a survey, write a handwritten note to the co-op agent, collect and save the written testimonial, collect and save the video testimonial, post that to social media. Okay, now the file in Google Drive is finished, right? The deal is closed. So now I move that file from the active section to the closed section. I write a testimonial for the co-op agent. By this time, I was starting to do a lot of recruiting. So I wanted to, foster those relationships and build those relationships with the other side. Now, believe me, I was not buttering them up during the transaction. It was strictly business during the transaction. I was polite and I was helpful, and I did 100% of my job and most likely half of their job, but it was strictly business. The second that deal closed, they should be at KW. Make sense? Okay, co-op agent script. So that's like, hey, my team leader wants to meet with you. Let's go have a cup of coffee, yada, yada. I'd add them to my agent database, schedule a coffee meeting, and 1 week after the closing, I would call the seller, make sure everything was okay. That make sense? So the takeaway here should not be, I only got 83 of the 84 steps. The takeaway should be, this is a business. and there's a lot to do, right? And so every day we have to strive to become more organized and better and more systematized. So I ran a successful business, but I'm not the best realtor in the universe, right? I just had a system, and I had a list of things I had to do and a list of the things that somebody else needed to do in order for this train to keep going, right? So that's really the takeaway is, at the end of the day, when I put my head to my pillow and with this, did I get smarter today? Is my business more mature, right? Am I a better presenter? Am I a more rehearsed practice presenter, right? Is there a new system or a tweak system that's going to make my world easier or more efficient? Or some of my partners, like my assistant, is it easy for her to do her job? Does she have all the tools she needs, right? Because if I got all the tools I need and she's over there struggling, well, she's going to get pissed off and she's not going to want to have that job anymore. And then I get it back. And believe me, I don't want it, right? That makes sense? Is that helpful? Okay. I heard another great line during Bold, and it says, if you want to fight hard for your limitations, then you get to keep them. Okay. You'll win. If you want to fight real hard for your limitations, guess what? You can have them. Okay. Just like the seller who wants to fight hard that their home's worth $325, and there ain't a single person in the universe that seems to want to pay $325. Well, guess what? You get to keep your overpriced home. Okay. We know that every single person on this call and every single person that might be listening to this call later is absolutely capable of having incredible success. And there are going to be a lot of things that come across your desk that you're unfamiliar with or you've not dealt with before. Maybe you've never made a seller checklist. That's okay. Steal mine and make edits to it that reflect what you do for your clients. Okay. But if you keep fighting for your limitations, you can have them. But if you want to strive for greatness, the world is for you. All right. Any final thoughts? All right, y'all. Have an awesome day. We'll see you. Mike?
Yeah, you gonna send us the checklist for seller?
It's in the Google Drive. There's a section called checklist, and there's a buyer checklist and a seller checklist.
Okay.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.